Hello everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IS in English. My name is Bhanwar Singh, ex-NDA 115th course and qualified civil services in 2012. And I welcome you on the platform. So let's see if you're live. Please type in the message and let me know that you're watching this session live along with me on the platform. All right, so let's see who is live right now with us. And we had the prelims, result that was declared yesterday. So I congratulate every one of you who have made it to the list and to the prelims. This is the first hurdle that you have crossed. And now there is another hurdle that is in front of you, and that is the mains examination. So I wish you all the very best for your mains, as well as right now, this is the time period that you should start preparing very well for your mains examination. Political science, good morning. Kika, good morning. All right. So this is very important. Kundan, good morning. And all right. So, and those of you who have not, cleared the prelims, so it is not a time to, dishearten yourself, and is all right. Just a second. Kika, good morning. All right. So we'll be doing the complete the Hindu analysis, and this is again now this is very important because when it comes to your mains, you will find the questions which are directly from the current events in your GS paper 1, 2, 3, and even in your paper 4 as well. So thereby, this is very important that you should take these the Hindu analysis very seriously for your upcoming mains. Now coming to the topics that we'll be discussing in today's session, it is the first one is about the US Iran deal and even the Strait of Hormuz. So there is the deal that had been signed, and this is the major news that you will find for today. All right, then coming to the second news that we'll be discussing is the record merchandise exports. When it comes to the export or the current account that we are talking about, then we'll be talking about the WPI inflation that have increased to 9.7%. Anjali, good morning. All right, then we'll be talking about the drone revolution. There is a complete text and context, article over drone revolution and even the modern warfare. Naruto, good morning. All right, then we'll be moving ahead and we'll be discussing the next topic, that is the split in Trinamool as well as the anti-defection law. Then we'll be moving ahead to the next important topic that we have today. It is India and Slovakia comprehensive partnership, and we'll be discussing which all important agreements had been signed between both the countries. Now, this was the first time that we have seen Indian Prime Minister visiting Slovakia after Slovakia came into being in 1993. So this is the first visit of any Prime Minister to Slovakia. Then we'll be talking about the heat wave as well as the ozone and the cardiac risk. And Naruto, good morning. All right, then we'll be talking about the census 2027, the phase 1, which had been completed in Delhi. So these are the important news that we'll be discussing today. Apex, good morning and nice to see you too. All right, so these are the important news that we'll be discussing. But at the same time, before moving ahead, let's see the quotes for today. Now, over here, the first one is the peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice. Now, this quote is by Martin Luther King Jr. And you can use this quote when you are talking about or you are writing anything about the recent crisis that we have seen in West Asia. Good morning. He calls me. All right. So over here, this is the first, quote that is there. Then comes the second quote, that is policy is not just about managing the present, but about architecting the future amidst profound uncertainty. All right, then you can use the another quote in your exam as well. The true test of the democratic republic lies not in how securely the majority can assert its will, but in how unconditionally the most vulnerable are guaranteed their fundamental liberties under the protective shield of the Constitution. So these are the three of the important quotes that you can use while you are framing the answers to your mains examination. Cloud Shinobi, good morning. And Bhavari Jakhad. All right. Hi, Bhavari. Banwari, not Bhavari. Bhanwari Jakhad. Okay, Banwari. Long time. Yes, I remember you, Bhanwari. All right, now coming to the word of the day that we have for today it is slapdash. Now, slapdash is basically in careless or in a reckless manner. The synonyms are random or scattered or even erratic. And the usage is his homework was done in a slapdash manner and was full of mistakes. So when something is done, without keeping something in mind, or it is done in erratic way, so that is what slapdash is. All right. Now, coming to the first news that we will be discussing today, it is US and Iran. They have reached the agreement to end the war, and there will be reopening of the Strait of Hormuz as well. So over here, we know that the Iran war, it started on 28th of February, and it had been, a long period of time since the war had been going on, and this has impacted the complete global economy as well. Now, over here, US and Iran, they have reached a preliminary memorandum of understanding on 15th of June to end the West Asian war, and the deal had been signed digitally. All right now it had been signed digitally, but at the same time, there will be in-person ceremony that will be held in Geneva on 19th of June. That had been declared by both Iran as well as by USA as well. Now, when it comes to the blockade, so the blockade will be lifted immediately. At the same time, Iran had said that the frozen assets must get released, and the war reparations, they are the essential parts of the deal that is there. So we will see what will happen about these claims which had been made by the Iran. As well as Iran will not collect any transit tolls that it had said. But at the same time, instead of the tolls, it has said that it will charge the navigation services fees that will be there. Again, this relates to the UNCLOS, which it grants the right to passage in the international straits as well as the international bodies. So this directly connects with the UNCLOS. At the same time, please remember that Iran had not signed the UNCLOS or United Nations Convention law on the sea. At the same time, there had been 60-day ceasefire that had been declared, and the nuclear program talks, they will follow after the implementation of this deal that had been reached between Iran and USA. So this is all about the Strait of Hormuz crisis that we were seeing. The Strait of Hormuz that connects the Persian Gulf as well as Gulf of Oman. And this is bounded by Iran, and we have the Musandam Peninsula that is of Oman that lies to the south of the Strait of Hormuz. Also, when it comes to the peace agreement or the deal that would be signed in person, this will be done in Geneva. All right, that is in Switzerland. You can see over here, it is located very close to Lake Geneva that is there. Now, when it comes to Lake Geneva, you must remember, all right, over here, this is Lake Geneva. And this Lake Geneva is actually the Alpine Lake. It is Alpine Lake, and you can say that it is the Europe's largest alpine lake that is located in Geneva. All right, and ultimately this borders between Switzerland and France that is there. Also, you can see the various. Good morning, Krishna. Yes, I am better now. All right, now over here you can see the different, the borders as well, which connects with the Switzerland. There is Italy as well as Austria. Then we have Germany, and over here there is France that connects the border with the Switzerland that is there. All right. At the same time, when it comes to the Switzerland, all right. So this is where we have the Switzerland, and its capital is Bern. Good morning, Gunther. All right. Now, coming to the various implications that this will have, all right, the deal that had been reached between the US and Iran. So ultimately over here, you can see that it will be the new US-Iran detente that will shape the complete West Asian order that we will see in the coming months. Also, when it comes to the Pakistan, it had the mediator role that has elevated its global standing in the complete world, as well as this is strategic concern for India as well. Now, Israel has vowed to stay in the Lebanon, Gaza, as well as in Syria, and thereby, when it comes to the deal, it is incomplete without that of Israel. So that is also what we will have to see, because when it comes to the deal, so Iran had made this completely clear that Lebanon is part of the deal. And now, when this deal had been signed, all right. So Israel has backed out. All right, Israel is saying that it will not leave Lebanon, Gaza, or Syria. So we will have to see how this complete deal will work out. And that again points to the fragility of the deal that is right now. And that is why you must see that even if the deal had been signed, but at the same time, the ships, they are not sailing. All right, the ships, they are also, they are just taking some breather to see how the complete, arrangement that will be done and how it will be, seen. Anu, good morning. All right, at the same time, India must recalibrate its diplomacy, thinking about Pakistan as the mediator role and also about the other things. Now is the time that India must recalibrate its diplomacy, especially when India had been invited to G7 summit where the Prime Minister Modi he is visiting right now. Now, when it comes to the economic implication, you can see that just after the announcement, the Brent crude fell to nearly 5.5%, and that is the relief for the current account deficit as well as for the inflation as well. Now, WPI inflation that will be seeing in another news, it has hit 9.7% in May 2026, and majorly it was driven by the fuel prices that we have seen in the West Asia. Also, the rupee have gained, the rupee have gained 60 paise to 94.58 rupees per dollar on the same day, and the merchandise exports, they have already hit the record $45.2 billion in May 2026. Now, when it comes to the exports, they have increased. I will, come back to this news later on because this is the another news that we'll be discussing in. All right. At the same time, when it comes to the security and the strategic implication, you can see that Iran controls the state. All right. Now, there is the new global norm that we will see, because over here, Iran has said that it will not collect the toll, but at the same time, the service charges will be levied. So, the precedent for the toll in the navigation services, that is the question mark, that if there will be service charges that will be seen. So, that is just as good as, taking the toll prices or the toll fees. Also, the Indian navies have extended the deployment in the Indian Ocean that have proved critical, and at the same time, the DGS, that is Director General of Shipping, it has, he has given this advisory that the Indian seafarers, they have been banned from the conflict zones and they have been asked to stay out of the conflict zones that are there. Now, when it comes to the ethical and, the perspectives that has to be seen, so it is very important to see that we have to ask that was the US blockade that was there of the international waterway that was lawful under the UNCLOS, because Iran is not part of the UNCLOS. Iran has not signed and ratified UNCLOS, but US have signed and ratified it as well. So this is where the Article 38 gets violated. Also, there are the frozen assets and the reparations. So ultimately, this is the justice for the affected population that we are talking about, the civilian population that are impacted because of this, step that was taken. And even when it comes to the 3 of the sailors that were killed by the US strikes, the US missiles, so who will take the responsibility or the accountability? There was no, any kind of remorse or even the, any kind of message that was passed by the US Embassy about the killing of the 3 of the Indian sailors. Now, this again pertains to this, ethical impact of the complete issue, that it is also the humanitarian crisis that we are talking about right now. All right. Now, over here, like I said, when it comes to the Indian context, so you can see that Director General of Shipping, it has said that the Indian seafarers not to be deployed in the conflict zone. So when it comes to India, so you can see that there is the Bharat Maritime Pool or BMP, that is the 1,000 crore capacity risk pool that was formed by the non-life insurers, and it had been backed by 1,300 or 1,300 crore of the sovereign guarantee as well. Now, this is basically, all right, where we are, localizing the capacity. So it reduced the risk of the cargo rates for the Indian companies from 0.20% to 0.10% as well. Now, there had been the direct cargo impact as well. You can see that the Petronet LNG's vessel, Disha, it has successfully exited the choke point carrying 62,370 metric tons of the LNG to Dahej, Gujarat. So this has shown or demonstrated acute reliance on this route when it comes to the passage or the import of the LNG as well as the oil as well. Now, DGS have implemented heightened security advisories, and over here there had been prohibition of the deployment of the Indian seafarers in the conflict zone that they have said. But at the same time, when it comes to the complete deal, you can see over here that Israel has said, over here the defense minister on Monday, he have said that Israel is not bound by the deal that is there, because Israel is not part of the deal. So over here, the Israel have said that they will continue. They will not withdraw the troops from Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. So over here, you can see that this is Israel. Here we have the Gaza Strip that is located. At the same time, here we have Lebanon and Syria as well. And you can see the provinces which had been targeted by the Israeli military as well in the complete map, or on the complete map. Now, coming to the next news that we have over here, it is about India's goods exports, which have hit a record high of $45.2 billion in May, and there is trade deficit that widens as well. Now, over here, you can see the comparison between the last year and this year, the May month. All right, so over here, you can see that when it comes to merchandise exports, so they have grown by 18% to $45.2 billion. The services exports have also increased by 13.2%, and the merchandise exports, they have increased by 22.1%. And at the same time, when it comes to the trade deficit as well, in the goods, that have also increased to 25%. But at the same time, this is quite concerning because the overall trade deficit have widened, and it is now $10.5 billion that we are talking about right now. All right, so over here you can see that this is not actually the impact or effect of the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, why or how this happened, or what is the reason behind, the increase in the exports? There are two major factors which have to be overlooked. The first factor is over here, and that is the depreciation of rupee. All right, there are two core factors. The first factor is depreciation of rupee. All right, that have increased the exports. And the other factor that is there is about the diversification. So we have diversified to the various countries, and that is why that have led to the increase in the merchandise exports that we are talking about right now. So there are two factors which have resulted in the exports growth that we are talking. All right. So over here, when it comes to the engineering goods, they have increased by 24.5% to 12.3 billion rupees. Then we have electronic goods, which have also increased by 11.6%. Then the organic and the inorganic chemicals, that has also increased, along with gems and jewelry, the non-petro exports, and the key destinations which were targeted for the exports were Singapore, China, UK, and Tanzania as well. All right, so over here, this is very important because when it comes to the trade, all right, or the merchandise exports, so exports is basically the part of the current account. All right, there is trade in goods where we have export of goods and the import of goods. Then we have the trade in services where we have net factor income, that is the net income from the compensation of the employees, and the net investment income, and we have net non-factor income as well, where we have or we include the shipping, banking, tourism, and also insurance and the other services. And there is transfer payments that consist of the remittances and the grants, and these are the basic constituents of the current account, in which we have trade as an important factor. All right. Good morning, Yangani Vasundhara. All right, so I'll just call you Vasundhara. So over here, we have the next important news that we have for today, and that is WPI inflation. Now, this jumps to 9.7% in May on surging of the fuel prices. That is what it says. WPI is basically the wholesale price index. All right, so it says the wholesale price index for the May 2026, it has increased to 9.7%, which is highest since the new base year had been announced. So we have 2022-23, that is the base year, and the new WPI series had been released with the base year updated to 2022-23. And this is the highest that we are seeing right now. Ramu, good morning. All right, Vasundhara. Now, over here, when it comes to the crude oil and the natural gas inflation, that have increased to 61.5%. That is up from 56.3% that it was in April. At the same time, the mineral oils, they have increased to 49.8%, and the manufacturing inflation also got increased. All right, it also quickened, and the food inflation also rose, and government have announced that WPI will be phased in the phased manner, and there will be total period of 5 years where the WPI or the wholesale price index, it will be released or replaced by PPI, that is producers price index, that is there. And there are new index which had been launched as well. And ultimately, there is OPPI, the trial IPPI, and the services PPI that had been released right now. WPI change, CPI is same. Yes, CPI, the base index, it is right now same. But at the same time, the WPI, the base year had been changed. Now, when it comes to the wholesale price index, so over here you can see that it measures the price at the wholesale level. All right, it is basically at the wholesale level or at the producer level. And here we can see that the base year is for the new series. It is 2022-23. This is released by MCI, or the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and used in the price escalation clauses and even in the contracts as well. When it comes to producer price index, or PPI, it is the global best practice which had been recommended by IMF, or the International Monetary Fund. And over here, it measures the price received by the producer, and it will replace the WPI in the upcoming 5 months, 5 years. All right. So over here, you can see when it comes to the different indexes. So we use consumer price index, wholesale price index, and the producer price index. Basically, the consumer price index is the price that is paid by the consumer. And when it comes to wholesale price index, it is the wholesale prices of the goods. Basically, when the goods they reaches to the the wholesalers. At the same time, we have the producer price index. It is basically received by the producer, so that is counted. Now, the level of the consumer price index it is at the retail level, where we are buying the things. The wholesale is at the wholesaler rate, and the factory gate level, where the things had been produced in the factories and then price is measured. That is producer price index. Basically, what the producers they are paying for the particular commodity. Yes, Ramu, I'm feeling well. All right. Now, the services, when it comes to the consumer price index, please remember that they are included. And in the producer price index also included, but in the wholesale price index, they are not included. The imports, they are covered in the the consumer price index and in the wholesale price index. But in the producer price index, there is no input of the imports that are covered. Now, these are published by different, the agencies, the CPI by NSO, by the wholesale price index, and the PPI by the OEA of DPIIT. And the key use is CPI is used for the inflation targeting by RBI, whereas the WPI is used for the GDP deflator and for contracts, and PPI, it is used for supply side inflation tracking as well. So these are the basic difference when it comes to the wholesale price index, the consumer price index, as well as the PPI, that is producer price index, that is there. Now, coming to the next news that we have, it is about the text and context, where you will see the drone revolution and the modern warfare. So we have seen the usage of the drones in the various wars, whether it is the Russia-Ukraine war or the Hezbollah and even the US and Iran war lately. At the same time, you can connect this with the another news, that is the Center issues alert on the potential drone attacks on vital installations. And accordingly, over here, there is the vital assets and the vital installations which are located around land and sea, the borders, where the government have issued this alert for these things. Now, when it comes to the drones, you will see that they had been used by the various groups, whether it is the Russian and the Ukraine. So in Ukraine, we have seen the first industrial scale drone war in the history. And there is FPV, or first person view kamikaze drones, which just cost nearly about $200 to $500 as compared to the $2 million that is required for manufacturing a tank. So when it comes to the drones, they are the vital for the asymmetric warfare that we have also seen in the West Asia as well. All right, over here, there is a fiber optic FPV drones as well. Now, when it comes to fiber optic FPV, or the first person view drones, so basically over here the fiber optics are used so that they cannot be jammed. So they are immune to the electronic jamming, and there are deep strike drones against the Russian logistics and the airbase that were used. And Baba Yaga hexacopters, or the Vampire, they are the heavy lift strike drones which were used in the Ukraine right now. I'm going through your classes daily. I felt those were good, but there is something missing from me to understand these topics. Do I need to work on something while going through this, or and any other extra work? Yes, Basundra. See, very good question that you have asked. All right. So I'll just, just take a break and I will let you know that whenever you are going through these topics and if you think that there is something that you are missing or you are not able to comprehend it, the thing is that you can ask it right now in the classroom. All right. If there is something that need to be discussed, and we always discuss those things. All right. And if there is something that you are watching later on, and then you come to know or come to realization that there is something that you are not able to comprehend it. So that means you have to work upon the basics. That is the foundation or the concept. So just go through the concepts that are there. All right. Along with the news, connect it with the static, with the concepts, and then, prepare the wholesome, we can say your complete lecture. That is very, very important when you go through the current affairs. That is, you have to link it to the static portion as well. All right. Now, coming to the Hezbollah or the Iran theater, we have seen that in the case of the Iranian platform, there is Shaheed 136. It is basically the drone that uses loitering munition. All right, it can it can loiter the munition. There are loitering munitions that could be launched along with Shaheed 136. There is Mohecher 4 and Abibil as well. At the same time, when it comes to Shahed 129, it provides the intelligence, surveillance, as well as reconnaissance that is quite required when it comes to, when it comes to the war theaters, because you need to have the complete surveillance, the reconnaissance as well. So it has the ISR capabilities, and the IRGC is using the drone for the regional power projections via the proxies as well. Proxies like Hezbollah, proxies like we have Houthis, which are there. All right, at the same time, when it comes to Israel, so Israel have responded with the Iron Drone radar that is AI enabled and the net capture system, and there is fiber optic FPVs which had been adopted by the Hezbollah also for the jamming resistance. At the same time, when it comes to the strategic implication, you can see over here that there are cheap drones which are replacing the costly platforms. So this is where we are seeing that there is a complete revolution when it comes to the battlefield economics, because the drones, they do not cost that much as compared to fighter jets, as compared to the tanks. So drones are manufactured cheaply, and that is why there are drones which are replacing the costly platforms, and there is no position beyond reach. Persistent visibility that have reshaped the doctrine. Now, the non-state actors, they have now they have the near peer capability, or they have the asymmetric parity that we can see. And ultimately, the concern with India is that there could be the drone attacks that could be on border. And ultimately, there is the alert that had been released, or it had been, sent by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Also, when it comes to the DRDO, so it is manufacturing the loitering munition as well as anti-drone systems, which are right now at the developmental stage. And thereby, it is very critical that India should also have the anti-drone capabilities. India should have the drone capabilities as well. And we must look towards the innovation side of using the drone in the war technology. Uzay, good morning. All right. Now, coming to the next news that we have, it is about the TMC, members of parliament. Now, when it comes to this news, so this had been in news, for a quite period of time. But at the same time, there are, the NCPI claims to be the largest parliamentary force from the Bengal after the Trinamool merger, that this says. All right, then we have another news that connects, and it is the merger may allow the rebels to vote in Lok Sabha prior to any ruling for the disqualification as well. So these two news can be clubbed together, and basically this is about the 20 rebel Trinamool MPs or the members of parliament which have met the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. Over there they have submitted their letter of merger with the NCPI, that is the Nationalist Citizen Party of India, which is just a 3-year-old regional party from Howrah. Now, over here, the Trinamool rebel MLA faction. So, there are total 65 MLAs which had been led by Ritavartha Banerjee. So, over here, he had distanced from the merger, and he says that the legislature party had no idea, revealing the split within the split that we are seeing in the Trinamool Congress right now. Also, there is strategic purpose, because ultimately this will avoid anti-defection law disqualification by invoking the merger provision that is under the para 4 of the 10th schedule, and that is why they have submitted the letter of merger with the NCPI that we are talking about right now. Now, this complete deals with the Anti-Defection Law or the Anti-Defection Act that is there in the Schedule 10 of the Constitution of India. It was added later on, it was not there, and it provides with the disqualification. And if the MPs or the MLAs, they voluntarily give up the party membership or they vote against the party's whip, so they are disqualified by the Speaker or the Chairman of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha respectively. Now, over here, the exception is that if more than or equal to two-thirds of the legislative party, it merges with the another party, so there is no disqualification of or for either group. Now, this is very important to note that this merger can happen only if the original party can merge. All right, the original party can merge and not the legislature alone. And that is a legal gray area when it comes to the anti-defection law. And we have seen this in the recent times that this had been taken advantage of as well. All right, at the same time, when it comes to the speakers, they decide the disqualification. At the same time, when it comes to the speaker decision, so it is not final or it is not ultimate because there could be the judicial review that could be done, and that was laid down by Kyoto Holohan case in 1992 by the Supreme Court. Now, the rebels, they have chosen the merger to vote in the Lok Sabha just before the speaker's ruling, and ultimately there is the news that the delimitation bill will be introduced along with the, when the monsoon session will start in the parliament. Now, when the monsoon session will start, the delimitation bill will be introduced. And last time, the women, the reservation bill, that was defeated because BJP didn't had two-thirds of the majority. And whole of the opposition that has voted against the bill, and since then, the bill had been failed. So over here, this is very important that when it comes to these 20 of the members of parliament, so here the BJP or the NDA, it is now approaching the two-thirds of the majority in Lok Sabha. Now, this is very important for the delimitation bill or the 131st amendment bill that may be tabled in the monsoon session, and Congress have alleged that it is Amit Shah who have engineered the defection to manufacture the super majority. And here we have the another ruling as well that is very important, and it is the Sadiq Ali ruling in 1971. Over here, it has said on the election commission, it relies on the strict criteria for the symbol disputes, if it has to give the symbol or it has to retain the symbol. So ultimately, how the symbol will be allocated when it comes to the split of the different parties, so this is decided by the Sadiq Ali ruling. And over here, it is again very important that when it comes to Mamata Banerjee, she has not yet filed the disqualification petition, and ultimately there is waiting strategy. She's just waiting, and let's see what will happen to the disqualification petition that has to be filed. Good morning, Danish. Nowadays, using the loophole of anti-defection political parties, there should be amendment to curb that loopholes, right? Then speaker decision also politically influenced, so the neutrality only on paper, not in reality. That's true as well. All right, now coming to the next important news, this is about India and Slovakia. And here, the bilateral ties have been expanded with a slew of MOUs that had been signed. Now, what are the different MOUs which had been signed between India and Slovakia? So there is defense cooperation, the letter of intent that is significant for the technology transfers, for the defense industrial co-production as well. Then there is another MOU that is labor mobility. And this is very important for the legal migration framework and the social security agreement also for the various migrants which will be traveling or they are going to the European nation, that is Slovakia. Then there is higher education MOU that is important for the STEM, for the humanities student and the researcher exchange. Then there is another MOU that was signed in the digital technologies that is important for AI, for the semiconductors, for the startups and 6G and Internet of Things as well. Then there is another MOU that is the Joint Working Group on the Terrorism. And here, when it comes to both the nations, so Slovakia have they have condemned or the Pahalgam attack that was there, and there is push for CCIT that had been laid down by the Slovakia as well. Then coming to the another thing is about the India-EU FTA momentum, where Slovakia is EU insider to accelerate the trade deal that will be there between India and EU. That is the free trade agreement. Sir, hypothetically, why not any senior civil servant on the state not holding the position of speaker? Because they can act as per the constitution without political influence. So basically, when it comes to the legislature, all right, so legislature is completely different from the bureaucracy, and we cannot have a bureaucratic, speaker, because that is how we have actually we have inherited the Westminster model. So everything is modeled upon the Westminster model that is there in UK. All right, and right, Bratislava Palace bathed in tricolor last night. Yes, that's true as well, Krishna. Now, over here, it is very important that when it comes to CCIT, this is basically a convention about, the terrorism. And this was flouted by India itself in UN. All right. India wanted to get this, convention passed. But this was, in 1996. All right. CCIT was basically, it was in 1996 that India had introduced. However, this could not get passed. Why this convention was not passed by the UN? Because of the differences about the definition of the terrorism. All right, so there were differences about the definition of the terrorism, and that is the reason why this is still lagging. And over here, this is very important because Slovakia have said that they will, push for the CCIT as well. Now, this is the first ever visit by the Indian Prime Minister to Slovakia since the independence of Slovakia in 1993. And Slovakia is in Central European, as well as it is a part of NATO, it is part of European Union, and the population is 5.5 million. Now, this is the part of the Europe tour of Modi, where he is visiting France for the G7 summit, as well as Slovakia, and ultimately to Geneva as well. Let's see. And the Slovakia have supported the UNSC, the Security Council permanent seat bid of India. They have also reaffirmed the support for India's nuclear suppliers group membership, and it is part of V4. Please remember, V4 is the Visegrad group of the Europe that includes Slovakia, there is Czech Republic, there is Poland and Hungary. So basically V4 is, or the V4 grouping, you can see over here, we have Slovakia, all right. Then along with this, Slovakia, we have Czech Republic, we have Poland and even Austria. All right, so they are the part of, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary and Czech Republic. Sorry, not Austria, it is Hungary. It is Hungary, not Austria. All right, so these are they are the part of V4. They signify V4 or the Visegrad group that is there in the Europe. All right. Now, coming to the next important news, it is about older person are increasingly bearing the brunt of climate change. That has been found by the study that was conducted by HelpAge India on Monday. And there is another report that links the heat waves and the ozone. They raise the cardiac death risk that has also been, said by the group or the study that had been conducted. Yes. All right. So over here, it is very important that when it comes to surface ozone, so that increases during the heat waves, and that had been found by the study that it increases to 85 to 110 microgram per meter cube in the North India during the heat wave crisis. Also, there is the WHO guideline that says that the ozone should be at the range of 70 microgram per meter cube, and when it comes to the heat waves, so this this limit that had been provided by the WHO, this is increased, or that is, breached during that particular time. Now, the heat waves which were studied, there were total 188 events that span over the two, decades. So, the worst one, they were in 2010, in 2016, 19 and 2024 as well. Basically, these were the El Nino years that were there. Also, when it comes to the ozone-linked deaths from the ischemic heart disease, as well as the COPD during the 2024 heat wave. So there were nearly cases of 26,500 cases that were directly linked to the increased ozone or the heat wave that were there. All right, now heat wave specific additional toll is nearly about 490 heart disease and the 342 COPD. What is COPD? It is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Like for example, where a person has difficulty in breathing. So that is what COPD is. What's the purpose of this group? This is just a group that is there in the, you can say Middle East, in the mid of the Europe. All right. Now, when it comes to the Western Himalayas, they have recorded the deepest or the steepest long-term rise in the ozone level as well. And the ozone forms basically as a pollutant. All right. So there is the ozone that is formed because of the pollutants that is there in presence of the sunlight. And when it comes to the ozone, so ozone is found at two different levels. We have the ozone that is in stratosphere. It is actually the good ozone that is there, and it is located between 15 to 35 kilometer altitude. In the stratosphere, that is the second layer, and it absorbs the harmful UVB and UVC radiations, and it is being depleted by the chlorofluorocarbons, the hydrochlorofluorocarbons, as well as the halogens. And here there is the Montreal Protocol that have banned the use of the CFCs, and this is the protocol that was signed in 1987. Now there is surface or the tropospheric ozone. This is basically which is bad ozone. It is formed when nitrogen oxide, it combines with volatile organic compounds and in the presence of sunlight. So there is the ozone that is formed, which is basically the secondary pollutant that is there, and it has severe implication on the health because it impacts the respiratory order or the respiratory system and the cardiovascular disease as well. Basically, the nitrogen oxide, it is emitted by the vehicular emission, the industry and the biomass burning, and ultimately there is no comprehensive national network for the monitoring of the ground level ozone in India, and that is what we require. So when it comes to the ozone that is formed at the ground level or the tropospheric ozone, it is because of the volatile compounds that combines with the nitrogen oxide in the presence of sunlight, and that is how we have the ozone that is formed at the tropospheric level. Again, this is very bad. Now, coming to the next important news, it is about Delhi, where the census 2027 phase 1 have ended in Delhi. So the phase 1 is basically which relates to the house listing and the housing operation. It has been completed, and there were total 98 lakh of the houses enumerated across the various house listing blocks that were there. Also, when it comes to this, the HLB or the house listing blocks, they typically cover nearly about 160 to 180 houses, and there were about 600 to 800 people that were covered in one house listing block. Also, as well as when it comes to Southwest District, it has the highest households and houses, and the data had been uploaded through the HLO app that is for the census management and the monitoring system portal that is there. Also, the phase 2, it will be for the population enumeration, where there will be detail that will be noted for every household member that is there. So when it comes to the census, so it is the constitutional basis is under Article 246, where the census has been listed as the line item 69 in the union list. And there is Census Act of 1948 through which the census is governed in India. Now, it is conducted by the Office of RGI or Registrar General of India and Census Commissioner. The last census was in 2011. The 2021 census was delayed initially by the COVID and then because of the elections. And now we have census 2027, which is the first post-COVID enumeration, whereby it is the completely digital census that will be conducted. Now, HLO or the house listing operations, they have collected the assets, the amenities, the living conditions, and the population enumeration. There will be demographics, education, and employment, along with the caste census that will be conducted in the second phase. Over here, it is very important that the data that is collected through the census, it is basically employed or it is used for delimitation exercise that will be conducted post the census, as well as for the welfare schemes and for the distribution of the parliamentary schemes that are there. So that recent fire was on purpose, yes. The recent Delhi fire, although there are lots of fires which are happening, and this is also very important that during this period, the summer period, there is there is a heavy load on the electric appliances, so it is very important that you get them serviced periodically. All right. Now, coming to the next important news that we have, it is the Supreme Court State High Court proceedings on the new transgender law. So there were the separate proceedings that were going in 4 of the high courts that had been stayed by the Supreme Court, And the Supreme Court have said that all of these cases, they must be transferred to the Supreme Court. All right. And that is so that there could be uniformity when it comes to the judgment. Now, over here, when it comes to the Transgenders Act, so the key provision that were there in the 2026 amendment, the first one is about the definition. In the definition, it removes the broad definition of transgender person based on a mismatch with the gender assigned at the birth, and it has replaced it with a closed list of medically or socio-culturally verified categories. Now, the certification had been introduced where the self-perceived identity certification had been replaced by the certification by the district magistrate with mandatory recommendation that should be there from a CMS-led medical board. And then there are penalties which had been included, which introduce the severe penalties, that is from 10 years to life imprisonment for compelling an individual through coercion or unauthorized surgery to present a transgender identity. So these are the three things which had been introduced in the new amendment that was done in the Transgenders Bill or the Act. Now, the major concern was about reintroducing the medical gatekeeping that forces the trans individuals to undergo the intrusive and the pathologizing, medical examination. Then there are the harsh penal provision that could be misused. They could be misused by the hostile actors to criminalize the supportive families which are there or the supportive friends and even the doctors. Now, they have assisted in any of the transgender youth during their transition. So they could be penalized, and this provision of, the harsh penal provision that are there, they could be misused. And even the law explicitly excludes the person with different sexual orientation and the self-perceived sexual identities. And these are the major concerns when it comes to the Transgenders, Act that was amended in 2026. Sorry. Now, coming to the next over here, it is about Supreme Court issues notice on plea against the second term of RLM minister. So there is Minister Deepak Prakash. Now, he was earlier in the Nitish cabinet as well, and now again he has been given the Panchayati Raj minister that he was earlier. Now, this pertains to Article 164.4. Alright, there is Article 164.4, and as well as there is the co-terminus article that is there in our constitution for the center, that is Article 75.5. Alright, now both these articles are important because this is for the center and this is for the states. Now, what these articles lays down? This article lays down that anyone can be appointed as a minister. All right, anyone can be appointed as minister, but all right, even if he is not member of the parliament or he is not member of the legislature, anyone can be appointed as minister, but at the same time over here there is a clause, and that is only for maximum of 6 months. All right, that he can be he can be appointed as the minister. Now over here there was the earlier case as well, and the court have said that even if the chief minister changes, all right, even if the chief minister changes, so this time period of 6 months, it does not automatically absolves. All right, this is the multiple, the Supreme Court have said that this is a time bar, or, even if the government changes, so you cannot say that this is, renewal of the 6 months period that have started. So that is what the Supreme Court have said, that within a particular, when we have the assembly, all right, or we have the life of the assembly that is going on, so 6 months is the maximum time period that can be used by a person. Now over here, when it comes to the plea, so Mr. Prakash, he was appointed as the minister, and he was appointed, there is already 6 months of the time period that have passed. So that is why this particular matter is very, very important, because this pertains to the 6 months, that is the time period for any of the non-member of the legislature or the parliament who can be appointed as minister, and he can be appointed as even prime minister as well. Remember this. Now coming to the questions that we have for today or from today's newspaper, you can see over here. First one is, with reference to tropospheric ozone, consider following statements. First, it is a primary gaseous pollutant emitted directly from the vehicular exhaust and the industrial combustion. Second, its formation in the atmosphere is catalyzed by high ambient temperatures and intense ultraviolet sunlight. Third, the WHO safety guideline for 8-hour ozone exposure is more stringent than India's National Ambient Air Quality Standards or NAQS. Which of the statement given above are correct? Tell me. Tell me which will be correct over here. Now, when it comes to these, statements over here, you can see that the first one is it is incorrect. Actually, it is not the primary gaseous pollutant. All right. It is basically the secondary pollutant, which is made by NOx plus VOCs, and in the presence of sunlight, it leads to formation of ozone. So we have first statement that is correct, incorrect. We have second and third, which are correct. So the answer will be B. That is 2 and 3 only. Yes, it will be B. Now coming to the next question. In the context of newly released macroeconomic data series by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the Jevons index formula is used for estimating the seasonal adjustment in agriculture crop yields during the Kharif season. Second, calculating the elementary price indexes by taking the geometric mean of price relatives. Third, adjusting the fiscal deficit of states based on their outstanding public debt to GDP ratio. Fourth, measuring the atmospheric dispersion rate of volatile organic compounds during heat waves. So what will be the right answer here? Which is correct for this one? So for this question, the answer is again B. That is the Jevons, index formula. It is for calculating the elementary price indexes by taking the geometric mean of the price relatives. Again, the answer is B. Now coming to the next question, consider the following statements regarding Article 164(4) of the Constitution. First, it permits a person who is not a member of either house of the state legislature to be appointed as a minister for a maximum period of 6 consecutive months. Second, the Supreme Court in S.R. Chaudhary versus State of Punjab ruled that a non-legislature minister can be reappointed for a second consecutive term immediately after the expiration of the first term if there is a change in the chief minister's leadership. Then third, the administrative acts performed by a non-legislator minister during their unconstitutional reappointment remain legally valid. Right. So what will be the right answer here? We have question number 3 that is on the board. So over here I have told you, when it comes to Articles 164(4) of the Constitution, it permits the person who is not member of the state legislature, all right, in the case of the state, and in the case of the union, I told you the article is Article 65(5). All right, so that is in the case of the center. So over here, the member or the person is permitted to be there for the period of maximum 6 consecutive months. The second statement is incorrect. Actually, over here, the Supreme Court have laid down that a non-legislative minister, he cannot be reappointed. He cannot be reappointed even for the second consecutive term immediately after the expiration of the first term. So second statement is incorrect. The third one is correct. So we have 1 and 3. That is B. Again, that is the right answer. All right. Now, coming to the next question over here, with reference to the 10th schedule of the Constitution, consider the following statement. First, the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act 2003 deleted the provision that protected the legislative split comprising of at least 1/3 of the party members. Second, a merger of the legislature party is valid even if the parent organizational political party does not merge. Then third, the speaker, while deciding on the disqualification petition, act as a quasi-judicial tribunal subject to the judicial review. So what will be the right answer? You said 75. So 75 is for center. Please remember this. All right. So we have 75(5). So this lays down the provision for the center. That is for the union government. All right. And when it comes to 164(4), this lays down the provision for the states, for the state government. All right. Now, over here we have the question that we have, and let's see what will be the right answer. A merger, it cannot be valid. The merger is of the political party. The merger is not of the legislative party. And that is why second statement is incorrect, but 1 and 3, they are correct. And again, the answer is B. All right, it is not the Ramu, it is B. 1 and 3 are correct. Coming to the next question, with reference to the weather forecasting methodologies, consider the following statement. Numerical weather prediction (NWP) models numerically solve physical equations governing atmospheric fluid dynamics and thermodynamics. Second, deep learning based weather models like GraphCast underpredict the intensity of record breaking extreme weather events because they cannot extrapolate beyond their historical training data. Then physics-informed neural networks, PINNs, integrate known physical laws directly into machine learning to improve the model stability. So what will be the right answer? Two-third legislative party. See, remember, I told you previously as well that the merger is of the political party. Now, political party, first it will get merged. And after the merger of the political party, that will be, how that will be shown. So that will be shown or it will be validated through the merger of the legislative party. So the merger is of the political party. There is a political party that is merging and the members are merging to the another party. And thereby that is validated through the legislative party. That is what the merger clause is. Yes, that is true, Ramu. Right. Now over here, when it comes to this, the question, the answer is D. That is all of the statements are true here about the various prediction models which had been asked or they are there in front of you. All right. Now coming to the next question, we have sixth question. Consider the following statements regarding the service producer price index service PPI recently launched in India. First, it is designed to capture X-Tech's factory gate pricing trends in the secondary sector. Second, it initially covers critical services including banking, securities, transaction, insurance and telecom. Third, it has been launched alongside the new series of wholesale price index as the part of the structural transition. So what will be the right answer? So what will be the right answer here? Let's see. So we are talking about the services price producer price index. So it is designed, yes, it is not secondary sector because when it comes to services, services come under tertiary sector. All right, so basically the first statement is incorrect because it says secondary sector, that is incorrect. Second and third are correct. So therefore the answer is B, that is 2 and 3 only. Now coming to the mains question, you can practice these questions. The first one is the US-Iran MOU on the Strait of Hormuz raises fundamental questions about sovereignty over international waterways. Critically examine India's strategic, economic and diplomatic interest in the resolution of the West Asian conflict. All right, coming to the next question, we have India's merchandise exports reached a record $45.2 billion in May 2026 despite the West Asian crisis. Evaluate the factors behind this resilience and the structural vulnerabilities exposed by the wider trade deficit. Then, the anti-defection law has increasingly become a tool for engineering legislative majorities rather than preventing unprincipled defections. Critically examine the statement in the context of the Trinamool Congress split and the use of the merger provision. So again, these are the important questions that you can prepare for your mains examination. Now, when it comes to the complete, the Hindu, you can see how that relates to the complete perspective of your UPSC examination. When it comes to US-Iran war deal, so there is the Brent crude that has fallen by 5.5%. There is the WPI that is expected to get moderate because of the lowering of the fuel prices. There is a RBI rate cut window that opens and ultimately there is a revival of the growth that could be seen. At the same time, the Hormuz is reopening. Over here, you can relate this with the exports that have risen in May and ultimately that prevents the import surge reversal as well. There is drone warfare that could be linked to the drone threat alert that has been sounded for the India's border. And then you can link this with the anti-drone systems that DRDO is manufacturing and the defense budget pressure as well. Then the census 2027 and the demographic committee that could be linked together to the anti-defection and the delimitation bill towards the governance and the polity and the politics nexus. And the heat wave, ozone, cardiac risk, it can relate to the NCAP reforms and the climate adaptation in the urban health policy that is required. So anti-defection judicial review Is it petition based or court can take case on suo motu basis? No, it's petition based. All right. So that would be all in this session. But at the same time, you can see that we are offering you with 50% discount. All right. So on the platform of StudyIQ IS, all right, you can go and you can enroll into the course that is GS Foundation batches. For English, we have Resolution P2I batch in which you can enroll, which are based upon the SMART model. That is structured classes, the test series that you get, your mentorship, you get the assessment and the revision as well. All right, so that would be all in today's session. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me over here on the platform of StudyIQ IS. If you have any doubt, you can ask it right now. Thank you, Political Science. See you, Apex. Thank you, Shinobi. Thank you, Kika. Thank you, Ramu. Thank you, Vidya. Divya, I guess. All right. Krishna, thank you. You too take care. Have a good day. All right. Yes, Ramu. See you tomorrow. And bye-bye. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Jai Hind. I will see you tomorrow at the same time. That is at 9:30 a.m. And we will do the complete analysis tomorrow for tomorrow's session or the newspaper. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Jai Hind. Thank you, Uzay. Thank you.